Radio 98.7 FM, and this is your weekly Obsidian Reflector here with Aston Walker and
Joshua John.
And we're here in the middle of World War III. We're from the bunker, otherwise known as New Star Radio, ACMC Community Centre. We're going to call it a bunker because it's more dramatic, yeah, with the World War theme. So, getting you up to speed, because I know a lot of you don't watch the news or don't care about the news. Microsoft building office has been hit in Israel, and there is censorship. So, in the spirit of objectivity, we have to sort of recognise the fog of war. Do you know about the fog of war, Josh?
Is that the information you don't have on a battlefield?
100%. So it's the fog of war, because they're both sides are putting out propaganda. They've hit this, so many missiles, you've missed this, snarky, blowing raspberries at each other. And reports are coming out from like Chinese merchants and so on and so forth. We're taking pictures. So stuff is leaking out, Josh. But what's your take on it? What have you observed via the interwebs and the media channels?
So, do you want the whole truth, or do you want the palatable truth?
You do as you please, mate.
Okay.
Simon Cowell's listening.
From what I've seen, from what I've gathered, this is a proxy war that has now gone into more explosive stages, shall we say, more critical stages.
Kinetic.
Yeah. Because before, Israel was doing a lot to the Palestinians, basically saying the Palestinians are your people, you know. I could be wrong on this, but this is from what I've gathered. Mm-hmm. They're saying the Palestinians are the Arab world's people, and they are, in fact, trespassing on Jewish land. Obviously, you know, if we go back to not to where probably Aston wants to go back, but if we go back to like 1945 to 1955, when the whole of that area, the Levant, was at war with Israel for a very short period. I think it was a 7 days war or whatever. We see that initially there was no sort of consensus on peace. No one was like, okay, we are happy to have the Israelis here, or we're happy to be here with the Israelis, or anything like that. So it's always kind of been a bit of a active war zone since 1945. Obviously, prior to that, there was the settlement going on, so that had its own tensions and its own joys. You know, it wasn't all bad news. I'm sure there were loads of moments before tensions were really stoked, when Jew and Arab alike, practically the same. They are the same thing. When everyone from the Levant sat down and enjoyed a nice bit of unleavened or leavened bread, depending on how they were feeling, but not like depending on their religion. And obviously, since then, the tensions in that area have remained high, stoked. Whether that's because we need them to keep, the imperial powers need that area to still be at war, to provide places to test bombs and to keep funding going, or if it's something more common or more simple as they just don't like each other. But the issues have been compounding, and now with a potent strain of North American kind of racism and xenophobia, which has come into the area under the form of Zionist settlers who believe that white is right and that they should be settling there, and no one can tell them no. And on the other side, there's obviously some people who are Israelis but want to live there peacefully, and then there is the nation of Iran, which, as far as I can see, just wants to have good Wi-Fi, and is being withheld from even that. That's my take on it.
That was the Josh Levity lightweight analysis of the fundamental principle of those who choose to follow that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed vis-a-vis Ibrahim and his two sons, Ishaq and Ismail, and their posterity, the two branches sort of diverging, with Ishaq ending with Prophet Jesus, Isa bin Maryam, and our beloved Jewish brethren who rejected his message. Then we have the Ismail line, which culminated in the Prophet Muhammad and his message being corrupted by the Abu Bakr Saqifa faction. May Allah curse them. Other views are available. This is an academic, scholarly discussion, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we now find ourselves in a situation vis-a-vis, as Josh mentioned, the colonial imperial powers via the Sir Ronald Stawell's, Lord Curzon, Balfour. This is in the early part of the 20th century, who copied, and this is via the Irish Times. I have mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again. The small northern island in the Middle East, which was the Middle East project being a carbon copy of the Northern Ireland conquests, which we can go back as far as, you know, the Oliver Cromwell, the Cromwellian Lord Protector. We fast forward to Charles Darwin. People often forget that it was a screed against the Irish, who they consider as monkeys, white niggers, if you will, and so on and so forth, which puts to bed the evolutionary Satanism, Freemasonic, Royalist, Neanderthal Satanism, as I like to characterise it. Then
I'm just getting used to it now.
Well, yeah. And then we fast forward to the likes of the hegemon, being the USA hegemon, who has bullied their way and ironically, since dropping 2 nuclear bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, which was a warning to the Russians, to their, to the Soviets. It was literally a warning to them, because they were next on the chopping block. And the ensuing Cold War, where as I like to characterise it, the white Neanderthal hybrids, the hosts for this satanic energy, and we're back to Satan, who, this is something I've been thinking about today when I was at a meal earlier at a Christian church. I am a Shia convert, but I spend more time at Christian churches, to be honest, and in the company of Christians. They're just much nicer.
It does say that you should in the Quran as well. It says people of the book, spend
Absolutely.
time with them.
100%. So the Neanderthal hybrids and the war. I'll get back to Israel and Iran in due course. The proxies. The alarming sort of racism of Satan when he was confronted by a black, dark-skinned Adam made from black clay. He took so much umbrage at this black, perfected human being. He was a giant of a man, I believe 60 cubits. And upon seeing this black man, he said he will not bow to. When he was ordered to bow to this black man, he refused. Fast forward, we now understand that the prophets, being of the lineage of Adam, were all black. Muhammad was a black man. Other opinions are available. Imam Ali was black. If you read Al-Amali by Sheikh Mufid, famous Shia scholar. He says, if you want, the Prophet was reported to have said, if you want to look at the image and nobility of Ali, of Imam Ali, then look at Adam. So that's nobility and image. I myself have been online doing what I do, speaking about the this particular scholarly and academic hadith that has reached us from 1400 years, and only to be told that, oh, colour's not important and blah 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 and all the rest of it. And these racist Neanderthal hybrid white Aryan monkey Arabs have an audacity, monkey in the technical sense, monkey in the technical sense of Allah says in the Quran, be ye apes and swine. That's from the Quran, before anyone phones in or takes umbrage. So in the technical sense, have an audacity to downplay, to diminish the superior Masumin blackness, because you're only a true human being if you're free of Neanderthal DNA. And we have clear evidence for that in the Yoruba and Khoisan, traditionally called pygmies, click language people, who are Neanderthal DNA free. So they don't have any Neanderthal DNA. And it's with that understanding and knowledge that there is no Neanderthal DNA in that particular population.
Which one?
The Khoisan.
Okay.
And the Yoruba.
Okay.
Traditionally Nigeria, you'd call them Nigerians, right?
Yeah. Or scammers.
So they don't have the Neanderthal DNA. So we have an analogue. We have what is germane to Adam, is the point that I'm making.
Okay, sorry.
So the retort to my Arab brothers and sisters, because ultimately I have Neanderthal DNA. My parents are from Jamaica and Barbados, of course. If you're from the Caribbean and you have an English surname, then you'll of course have the DNA of the slave master via rape, because we're all victims. Sorry,
unless they were like a full Arawak, or do you know what I mean? Because there are a few full Arawaks on like islands like Caribou or something like that.
Full Arawak?
Yeah, Arawak Indian, which is a original population that was in the Caribbean and existed in the Caribbean alongside the plantations without obviously being taken, because they would obviously there was loads of slaves coming over from Africa, loads of stolen bodies coming over from Africa. There
stolen bodies, I like that.
Existing peoples in the Caribbean under the Arawaks, who were like a very hardy warrior, kind of not interested in trade but more interested in staying in the bush and staying far away from civilization as possible. Obviously a lot of the slave revolts was like those guys linking up with the Arawaks in the bushes and then coming back and trying to free the people or whatever. So there's still a few people who are very much Arawak, mainly DNA, in some of the smaller islands, from what I've seen.
Interesting.
In my travels.
Now, you raise an interesting point. Now, I don't know if you're aware, I mean, often on the show we talk about the Elizabethan, Shakespeare, John 007D, Satanism, as I like to call it, brainwashing. Civilization is a 15th century word. Coined, its sole purpose was to denigrate the black slaves. Mm-hmm. It was, I believe, it was of Portuguese origin. So this word civilization in of itself is problematic, because the supreme civilized human being is an agriculturalist. That human being who is in tune with nature. That is the maximum zenith of human technology, is to be at one with agriculture, raise a sheep, build some shelter.
So what about the Okay, cool. So you live a really healthy lifestyle in tune with nature, and you live to about 90 years old.
Mm.
You probably don't get cancer because you're not exposed to any free radicals, and whatever free radicals you are
Maybe
exposed
maybe
to,
700 years or 200 years. Yeah.
whatever free radicals you're exposed to are going to be counteracted by your diet, which is going to be mainly leafy veg,
Yeah.
and lots of sunshine and exercise.
Mm.
So I hear that, but okay, say if I now want to like drive a car or something, do you know what I mean? Surely there's some sort of civilization in being able to go faster than the fastest like land animal, or to fly. You know, these aren't things that are like natural to the human but maybe like, okay, you get so in tune with nature and you just levitate. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, there you go. I mean, you're answering your own question, your own curiosity. By definition, the human being, and this is why, I mean, this shows that we live stream is called Victories in the Grave, of course, from Imam Ali, who, when he was assassinated, the chosen Caliph of Allah, 10 AH Ghadirul Khum, when he was assassinated, he said, now I am successful, now I am victorious. Because in the Islamic Shia understanding, real life begins in the grave when you're dead. And you carry your good deeds and so on and so forth. So the liberty, the lifespan of the human being is that of kindness, simplicity, remembrance, obedience to the Creator, knowing the limitations of one's existence, knowing that one will inevitably perish and have to inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, the return of all is to Allah. And that is how one imbibes the life given, the gift, if you will. The materialism that has saturated humanity, acquisition of stuff, of things, possessions, and so on and so forth, that is a distraction. That is where the satanic forces, the enemies of self, deviate the human being from his true nature with the stacking up of things, the desire to go faster, quicker, higher, you see? Whereas the wise man understands his limitations, understands that, yes, of course, faster transport enables the visitation to one's loved ones at a quicker pace, of course. So these things, you know, are not to be discounted or poo-pooed, dare I say. However, with all things, there are constraints.
My nephew always says that. He says,
Sorry.
"You're a poo-poo head, Uncle Josh."
There you go. So you know, there's limitations. Is I guess is what I'm saying. Because one needs to be wise. One needs to. Any excess is detrimental.
Whoa, Aston, stop! Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
starting to agree with you, man. You got a U-turn or something.
Oh, sorry. Well, we're making progress. Anyway, so we're back to Israel and bombs and potential World War III.
Oh, okay.
So, so Mr. Trump now has segued, has done his what is it? They call him Taco. Trump always chickens out.
Oh, okay. Is that what?
That's what the acronym means.
On the record, I never said anything there.
Right? So Trump always chickens out because he's an old man.
Aston made that noise.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I didn't actually. He's a liar. He's a fibber. He's a bloody fibber. But anyway, that segues nicely to what Trump's a liar. He's a fibber. He's got no sense of. He's got no self-awareness. He's got no ethics. He's completely satanic. He's completely malicious and capricious, and his ego has overtaken him.
I mean, I think he's a nice guy. I think the things that I've seen him do, ironically, have been like some really good things. You know what I mean? Obviously, what?
Name 3.
Right. So when Colonel Gaddafi, peace be upon him, travel to America, nobody would give him anywhere to stay, and Donald Trump was the only person to offer him and his caravan a place to stay, and he let him stay, obviously in Trump Tower, and Gaddafi was very happy with that. And I think also another great thing that he's done is that he has been holding his position as kind of the face of America, through disgrace, through oppression, for the better part of 50, 60 years, or even more than that. Obviously, Aston would know better than me kind of what's gone on before that. But from what I have seen, this is a guy who has literally been there as the world that we know it today, all of this Microsoft COBOL stuff has been rolled out, and he's obviously profited loads from it, and he's a big player in the American market, and obviously now globally. Our Prime Minister Keir was recently seen helping dear Donald Trump to pick up his papers. I think it's so telling for one of our prime ministers to want to help the elderly and to look after those from over the pond, and yeah. So the third thing, he's only done 2 amazing things, so he's left space for other people to exceed him. So I'm gonna put that as the third one.
At the age of 55, having studied computer science, just listening to that, I feel as if my intelligence quotient is diminished by a magnitude of possibly half. Just listening to that. But anyway, yeah. So, death and destruction. The fog of war has descended. It's safe to say. Confusion, befuddlement, discombobulation. Yeah. Perils abound, dare I say.
Yeah.
So that's the state of affairs, really. But we're alive. We're still here. Levity. He's still, he's still here with us.
Woo!
So, right, we'll wrap up the show there, I think. Yeah, I think we've done enough there. We've contributed enough there.
What?
And we'll catch you next week, yeah? On the... what are we calling the show? Sorry, the Obsidian Reflector.
Alt-timer Reflector.
What did you say? The Alt-timer Reflector. He's a cheeky. I was going to swear quite explicitly there, but I restrained myself. But yes, okay. So we'll catch you next week, right? So goodbye from Aston Walker.
Goodbye from Josh.
I can feel the winds of change.